Today's episode is sponsored by No Strings Attached e-News, your premier online magazine with interesting and informative articles from lifestyle, entertainment, and news worldwide. Visit the website to find out what's buzzing on nsaen.com. Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Award-winning vocalist and singer-songwriter Skyler Jett is today's guest. Skyler will talk about his incredible career in music, as well as his collaboration with icons including Celine Dion and many more.
Welcome to another episode of Life Stories with Marc Hoberman, where we uncover the story behind the glory. Today, I'm honored to sit down with a man whose voice has traveled the world and whose mission reaches even further. Skyler Jett is more than a celebrated singer and songwriter. He is a global ambassador for peace, unity, and emotional healing through music. From collaborating with icons in the music industry to dedicating his life to uplifting communities and inspiring change. Let's bring him on. Skyler Jett, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Nice to be here. Thanks so much for the invite.
Oh, so great to have you. Skyler, on my show, we talk about the story behind the glory a lot. And before the world knew your voice and your message, there was a journey that shaped you. So who were you before the music?
Shoot. Well, I've been in this business for 59 years.
Oof.
And my mom, my grandmother, and my aunt were all gospel singers. So I came up singing gospel until I was about 10 years old, and then I started singing jazz.
Mm.
And then I went to R&B and the rest of them after that. So my family's been in music for many, many, many years. And I was just around. So, I inhaled it and enjoyed it. And I've been with it ever since.
Well, 1 year shy of 60 is just phenomenal. There's only a select few who can brag about that. So what made you go, which do you prefer, which genre? I know you said jazz and there's R&B and things like that. What speaks to Skyler the most?
Well, I'm a social conscious music producer. So I concentrate on positive lyrical content. And I inspire young people to do the same, right? Because life ain't all bad. Let's talk about the good side of life. You know what I mean? And so with my show, I have a movement, Music for Global Change, and I bring young people on and inspire them to write positive lyrics.
Well, in my previous life, I taught for over 30 years, and no pun intended, you're singing my song, because I've heard so many great rap songs, so many great R&B songs, with positive images, but I've heard my share of negative images. What would you say to some of those artists who are appealing to the younger crowd?
Well, like I said, life ain't all bad. I'm giving bad news some competition. Mm-hmm. And so I'm bringing people along with that. And my movement is growing rapidly, around the world. I mean, on my show, I got people from all parts of the world, every continent. And I want to introduce young people from the States to instruments that they've never heard before. And, put that in their style of music. Only thing is that the lyrics have to be positive. It can't be about yourself.
Right. Lyrics
that heal, educate, and solve problems.
Well, music is so powerful, as you know, but your work carries like an intention, almost like a healing, unity, and as you said, emotional connection. So when did you first discover that your voice wasn't just meant to sing, but to inspire?
It was 1984. And I wrote a song with the bass player of the Commodores. And we gave that song to the state of Alabama. Mm-hmm. And George Wallace was the governor. He's a pretty racist guy, Mm-hmm. But we went to the governor and we told him, listen, we're going to write a song and we'll give it to every family that has 4 kids. One of the kids we're going to put through college. And we're going to use the funds from this song to do that. But We told him only if he can put this on it was 361 stations at that time.
Mhm.
And we told him the only way we're going to do that, you have to put it on every station simultaneously at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
And he said, okay. And we did that. And we gave the money to the families that had 4 kids. And I said to myself, if we can do this, imagine famous musicians making all that money
Mm.
to 10% of the, you could keep foundations open
Sure.
with the revenue, right? Oh my God, the internet is unstable. Okay. So if I can, like I started writing songs for foundations after that, theme songs for foundations. And that seemed to work for me because, uh, 9/11, when bin Laden caused that mayhem,
Mhm.
that was the end of the industry
Sure.
for music, you know. And the record companies were so messed up at that time, they didn't know what to do. Distribution, if you was a musician, you was signed to a label. Say, say you signed for 5 years or whatever, and they couldn't sell a record. And say they put out the wrong record out of 10, your record. They put the wrong one out. Maybe another one on there might have been the one that could have been the hit.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what? I got to find another way to make money.
Mhm.
So, whenever I go to a foundation, they always have some music playing on the, when you open it up. And so I said, listen, I'll write those theme songs for them. And I said, listen, even if you gave me $3 per song, if you got 300,000 followers or people in your foundation, I don't need but about 15 of those and I can stay alive.
Right.
Right. So I started doing that. And when I showed people how to do it, it was wonderful. I had a radio show for 3 years when I lived in the States.
Mhm.
And it was really wonderful because I was introducing people from all over the world, when people was trying to get people just from the United States to come on their show. And I wrote a song with a friend of mine in Switzerland, and she goes, Skyler, you're going to be famous in Europe. I said, why? She says, because most Europeans want to be heard in the United States. You giving them a chance to be heard. And I bring them on once a month, right? And my friends would go, who was that? They were great.
Mhm.
And I said to myself, I'm pissed off at the States because, they don't share the love. Like, I live here in London, but I can go all over the world and I can hear American music,
Sure.
but we don't reciprocate. We do the trickle down effect, like Sting and the Beatles and Rolling Stones. But it's not abundance like it is when you hear music over here. So I'm changing that. I figured there's no platform. And when I did some research, I looked up, there was over 5 billion love songs.
Mhm.
And I said, well, okay, well, if that many love songs, what hasn't been said in the love for genre? What hasn't been said yet using that word? And I go, okay, so I went to check out social conscious music, and I found out there were over 192 million social conscious songs published,
Mhm.
but there was no platform. And that's what I'm building with Music for Global Change, is building a platform for it. Because if 192 million people wrote social conscious songs, somebody has to like it. You know what I mean? And when I have people on my show and I always talk about this, and I say, how many social conscious songs you wrote? Oh, Scott, I wrote a few of them. And I thought to myself, I know why you only wrote a few of them, because there's nowhere to take it
Right.
to make any money off of it. And so that's why I brought this platform to life. And it's really wonderful because I'm about to get funding for my festivals,
Mhm.
my music, my social conscious music festivals. And I'm just going to bring on amazing talent that most people never heard of before. And some of you heard of before, but you didn't know they wrote that kind of music, right? Because, like I said, people are tired of bad news.
Well, it's so interesting
Let's give them
because,
some good news.
yeah, it's not called music for global listeners. It's called music for global change. So you're going way beyond just the aesthetic listening part, which is tremendous and a big undertaking. And it's so important that somebody did it. I could sit here. I don't have 4 hours, so I can't ask you who you collaborated with and who you sang backup for because the list is the largest list I've ever seen. So I'm going to ask you, if you can, to go into those memory banks and just spit out a couple of those names real quick so we can move on, because otherwise we could be here for it'd be shorter if I asked you, tell me who you didn't sing with. And then that would be a list of maybe 2 people. But why don't you drop some names for us who you've either collaborated with, sang backup with, things like that.
Well, I got a Grammy in 1998.
You did.
I sang on the Titanic with Celine Dion. My Heart Will Go On. If people know the Commodores, I'm the guy that replaced Lionel Richie in the Commodores. In 2007, I brought Sly and the Family Stone back to the stage. And I took them out for 13 gigs, right?
Yeah.
And I've written for people like Al Jarreau and Patty Austin and Eddie Murphy, the Commodores too, right?
Right, sure.
And it's really wonderful because, I'm in all spectrums of music, but people know me now by my conscious vibes, my music for global change movement. And it's really wonderful because it's picking up. And I couldn't get no help back in the States. That's why I left, right? I I was at a party and I was telling this guy, man, all these young people killing each other with these guns. If you want to impress me, put the gun down, right? And I said, okay, so I'm gonna go out and teach you young people that you don't have to say the F word. You don't have to say, I shot somebody or, somebody hurt me in my relationship. You don't have to. There's more to talk about because tell me something good that happened to you. And those are the songs we need.
Well, just some of those names that you said were phenomenal, but I hope people realize that. Pretty sure that the song from the Titanic, My Heart Will Go On, I think that was the #1 song from a film ever.
Of all time.
Of all time. And to be a part of that is so tremendous. So you've performed with legends, some of whom you've just mentioned. You've been part of iconic moments in music history. Which artist and life experiences most influenced your sound and your spirit as a performer?
Well, when I looked at what I was doing, people have been doing it for years. But Marvin Gaye was my hero because when Berry Gordy said to him, "You got these women going crazy, they throwing their panties at the stage and all that kind of stuff. What you gonna do now?" And he said, "You know what? I got to talk about this war, this Vietnam War. So I got to tell people what's going on." And that's the title of the record, right? And John Lennon was one of my heroes. Uh, he wasn't the best looking out of all of them in the Beatles, but he wrote some of the bigger songs, you know.
Sure.
But it wasn't until he wrote Imagine that people really knew who he was, right? And you got Nina Simone, right? And Bob Marley. And I can go on.
Sure.
I mean, these artists would always do one or two kind of social conscious songs. So I'm going to get an accumulation of all these songs from these artists and show people that it's been successful before.
Well, I want to talk a little bit, especially with you, about purpose through pain. So many great songs are born from struggle, personal experiences. Can you share a challenge or turning point in your life that helped shape your purpose as an artist and a human being?
Like I said, it's a song that I wrote called "Keep the Music Playing," and that was in 1984. And when I saw we can do that, I wanted to go inspire some of the bigger artists and say to them, if you only took 5% of a smash hit that you had, do you know you could feed a lot of people? And we have to get them to do that. Like come on, just give up a little percentage of your thing to maybe keep the doors open to a foundation, right? And so, people, they're starting to get it now. And I'm grateful. But it wasn't, like I said, when I moved over here, they got it. You know what I mean? There's 330 million Americans, but there's 960 million Europeans, right? And I tell people, you can have America, you can have it. Give me a dollar from 960 million. I'll be. My only problem would be, what color do I want that in?
I want to talk about a Wizard of Oz moment, like the man behind the curtain. So let's talk about behind the curtain of success. People often see the accolades and the harmonies they hear, but they don't always see the setbacks, the sacrifices, or the lessons behind them. So what's one chapter of your journey that most fans would never know?
Well, I'm so happy to be doing what I'm doing because I see how it affects people, you know? And when people come on my show, I get them to tell their story. That's why I love my show so much, because it's only 25 minutes. But what I do is, for the first 15 minutes, I have them talk about their journey. And everybody's got a journey, you know? But when we get to that last 10 minutes of the show, I ask them, do you write social conscious music? And most of them will go, yeah, Skylar, I wrote a couple of them or a few of them. And so I'm going to take all them songs, that's just a few of them from these people, and show that people want to hear some social conscious music. You can change things in the world. I had this brother on my show. He's 82 years old. His name's Artie Cornfell. Artie put up the money for Woodstock. And he told me, he says, I paid $250,000 to throw Woodstock, and 500,000 people showed up. So I threw the biggest peace concert ever. So he's endorsed what I'm doing. And that's huge to me, for him to endorse my foundation and my concerts that I'm about to throw, because he knows how to do it. Right. But I've had some amazing times performing with people too. Like, when I performed with Stevie Wonder, I was blown away. I was just blown away that I'm about to sing with Stevie Wonder. And then Stevie's got a lot of social conscious songs as well. Michael Jackson, and there's so many out there. Joni Mitchell, and just so many people. But my attorney used to be the attorney for Nina Simone. Now, she was a rebel. They wouldn't even let her back in the United States, how she talked about the injustice going on in the United States, right? It took him a long time to be able to get her comfortable to go home, So you have to say something what's cool. You use music, use it to change things, because we can. Before there was the internet, music was the fastest engine ever to get to people all over the world. So we have to use that. And I do.
Yeah, and I also have to say and point out that you like or love or live the human element of music. So much technology and stuff has kind of altered the state of music. And I know you're old school, and I say that with utmost respect. But you've spoken about music being a tool for peace and emotional healing. So in your life, how has music served as a kind of therapy?
Well, I'm an advocate for the human sound, because you can't beat the sound of a human being.
Nope.
You can have AI all you want, but they'll never be able to beat the sound of a human being. With AI, you have to send your thoughts in, and then in the search engines and algorithms, they pull all that stuff together. But humans have emotion, and you can't get that from a machine. And I can prove it. Go get a blues player and let him play tonight. And then tomorrow, before he goes on stage, step on his foot. The blues is going to sound a little different tonight.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because music is emotion. It's emotion, man. There's certain instruments that they use for emotion. They want to make you cry, they play string instruments. If it's a sexy part, they play the saxophone.
Right.
There's certain certain instruments to get emotion out of you. And most people watch a movie, and when it gets to a thriller part, like that,
Yeah.
that you know something's about to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's certain things that instruments can do, but I want kids to see, because I was here before computers, and so I have to tell them all the time. You know, there was music here before computers, right? Right? And I love them. See, I want to put young people. My mom used to take me to see Ella Fitzgerald and all these big artists when I was a kid, right? And I love that she did that. Do you know back then they didn't have monitors so you could hear yourself back,
Mm-hmm.
but they were in perfect pitch,
Yep.
right? And so I have to tell young people, it's not just jumping on the stage. You have to go rehearse first before you get up on stage. So it's work before you get to the work. You got to apply yourself to that. But no, I want kids to look up on that stage and see a bunch of talented musicians up there, and they've been home all day long practicing, waiting for tonight, right? And then when they assemble together and make that sound, there's nothing like it. You can cheat with computers today. One man could play out the whole orchestra. Yeah, but you wasn't meant to play some of them. Yeah, I know you can cheat and play it, but there's certain people that was born to do it. That's a different sound. When people you can go to school all you want to for music, but you still will never sound like the people that was born to do it.
Oh, for sure. And and the songwriters such as yourself, you bring up so many things about young people, and that's very close to my heart because of all those years of teaching. But your songwriting often reflects love, unity, and hope. But now we're in 2025, and we're in the United States and all across the world. When life tests those values, how do you stay grounded and aligned with the message that you bring into the world?
Because I stay positive relentlessly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't let negativity get me down. It doesn't matter what somebody else says about you.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they say it doesn't mean it's so.
Right.
You know, believe in yourself and people will believe in you, you know. But like I said, you have to go rehearse. You have to rehearse the parts that you want. You being the teacher, before you can get in front of students, you got to already know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Preachers too. What cracks me up, and all these preachers talking, yeah, pay me money, and I'll tell you what God said. Well, it's already in the Bible. I can read that for myself. It's amazing.
Yep. Well, normally, speaking of amazing, normally when we talk about legacy, we only have about a minute left. Mostly people talk about legacy when someone's career is over. Your career isn't over. You're doing the new foundation work and all that. But when future generations look back on your journey, the voice, the mission, the moments, the foundations, what do you hope they say about the life you lived and the story behind your glory?
I'm the music ambassador for global change. So, I want to travel the world and introduce people to each other. Because we have the internet now, I can introduce people from both sides of the world and they can collaborate right on the internet. You don't have to wait for anybody anymore, right? Although the industry is basically gone, you can't make money like you used to,
Right.
but you still can bring people to you. It's like a Chinese friend of mine who had a .com business back home. And he said, he asked me, so, well, how many people in London? I said, it's probably about 13 million people over here. He said, you don't need them all. All you need is 100,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Go get 100,000 of them to spend $10 a piece. That's $1 million. You can get by on $1 million a piece.
Right.
So just go get a smaller group. And if I went to you and I said, can you spend $10 on me at least once a year? $10 is a shot of booze at a bar.
Right.
So I just got to go after my circle of people, 100,000 people that's loyal that will spend about $10.
Right.
So, find your own audience is what you got to do now, and your own fans.
Well, such great
And you
advice.
can make it.
Yeah. Such great advice, such a great philosophy. Skyler Jett, I can't thank you enough for being here today and sharing your incredible life in music with us and your philosophy about music and what it can do. And we can't wait to see what you accomplish next. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. Thank you. All the best to your fans.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.